it's interesting to watch that journey for them, where they see themselves. Oh, I can do this. I can do this.
Colin, it is an actual joy to speak to you right now. I'm genuinely a huge fan. It is wonderful to chat with you.
That's lovely. I already love you.
Oh, well, there we go. Then it's mutual. Finally, I was so worried.
No, I'm so easy.
Honestly, it really is a privilege. Of course, I've loved your work on Whose Line and many, many other projects. And this Old Enough is absolutely adorable.
Oh,
It,
good. Yeah.
it is so sweet, so cute. How did you come to be involved in it?
I auditioned for it and they hired me, which is so unusual. Usually when I audition, I think, oh, well, that was a nice experience. I've learned how to audition. But they brought me in and then I'd never heard of the show before. So they sent me some clips. I watched it and I thought, okay, this looks like it's going to be lovely. Looking forward to it.
Now, this is a new series, or is it based on another series? You said you hadn't seen it before.
It's been running in Japan for 30 years.
Okay.
And there's been talk of trying it, with the US or whatever, but there's been a fear. I think because the cultures are different and people think Japan is safer in a way. The neighborhoods are sort of set up differently. But I think the crew of this show has done amazing. The kids are never really alone. There's like a safety pack always following them to make sure everything is fine. And, the kids are just adorable.
They really are. This is one of the like. uh, This is a strange comparison. As I watch, I said this feels like the best of TLC shows or something like that. Where it's like just watching these families sort of struggle through
Yeah.
these little moments. Um, I had to ask this. So I wondered about this as I was watching it because as in the show, of course, we see these 3, 4, 5-year-olds go out, take these journeys, which were the map is actually sort of the longer the map goes, the more terrified I get as a viewer. Huh.
Yeah. I think North Americans will find this in the beginning very anxiety causing because it's not something we do. I know as a parent with my daughter, we were hovering, I would say, more often than not. But I think once you watch it and you just see, first of all, the pride these kids take when they've done it. And also, you can relate to the parents because there's usually one who's not quite on board with this entire thing and one who's sort of pushing it through. And then by the end, they go, okay, all right, maybe it is time to give our child a little more responsibility and see how that goes.
Absolutely, we see these parents sort of struggle with these simple tasks like going to buy ice cream or the dry cleaning, that seems simple. But I was wondering, in your mind, who had a harder time, the kids or the parents?
I would say probably, generally, I think the parents, the kids, there were some kids who at the beginning were a little leery of it, maybe a little scared to do it. But a lot of them was like, all right, no, I'm ready for this. And they went and what I love about it as an older person was sometimes they would forget stuff. So that made me feel better about myself. I thought, if this young kid forgot to get a can of beans, all right, it makes sense that I do.
So there'll be. Am I hearing a sequel series called Young Enough? Is that what?
Yes. Oh God. Sure, sure, that'll happen. Nothing better than watching old people shop.
Well, it's interesting though because you're right. You see these tensions, but they're as you said earlier, they're never really alone.
Hmm.
What sorts of preparations are done before they take the journey? Of course, we see the city workers, and I use it in quotes, sort of in the background in different scenes. But what sort of preparation is involved? Like who's brought into the process?
I think they prepare maybe the neighborhood, prepare the shops that they're going to, just so that someone isn't freaking out that a 4-year-old is walking down the street by themselves. So there's a little heads up there. But I think that's basically it. Everything else, it's really up to the children to do what they do or do what they don't do.
Now, so are the kids aware at all that of the city worker, the good quote city worker? They're not aware at all
I
of
have
the
no
person.
idea. For a lot of them, they think these people are there fixing the internet in their house. Every once in a while, they'll interact with a worker who is pretending to work on something just to ask for advice, but not really knowing, just saying, is there a store down here? No. And it gives, what I love is it gives these technicians a chance to act a little. So they get their moment in the sun. Yes, it's just down there.
I had wondered because these shopkeepers are amazingly, composed as these children walk
Yeah,
in.
yeah. No, they've gotten a head ups for sure.
Well, I know I've only seen the first two episodes of the show so far, and it's so delightful. But I was wondering, were there any kids that weren't old enough, or is it everybody's just like we want to see them succeed?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the audition process was to find these kids. I think there was a vast number of children they looked through, and they were looking for whatever they were looking for in the casting arena. But they all, I would say all of them, I would say three-quarters of them were ready for this. Others were a little fearful at first, but then quickly got into it. And um, it's interesting to watch that journey for them, where they see themselves, oh, I can do this. I can do this. And so at the end, there's this just immense amount of pride. Um, the parents, I think, are relieved, and also hopefully um, see that this is a chance of maybe giving these kids a little more responsibility. A lot of times when you're growing up, you're told, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this, but you can. As a family, everyone has to pull together and do certain things. Kids can certainly do chores. I'm not saying child labor, although, trying to get one to write a script for me, it's not working out.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're like these kids aren't mowing the lawn, like.
Yeah. No, yeah, they're going and doing major shopping and picking up, excuse me, dry cleaning. So it's I mean, these are tough chores for very young kids to do, and they're all doing it.
Absolutely. And some of these kids, they're just so pure and sweet. Like that's what I love about this, just the purity. There's that one little boy who's singing on the way to get the ice cream, and it's so cute. And there's I think it's him. I could be wrong, but he comes out of the house and he doesn't want to, but then the door closes and he's like, okay, and he just goes, and you see the mind sort of change. And I wondered, in your mind, what is the power of giving them control? What are their how are they changed by it?
I think it gives them a whole sense of what they can do. I kind of liken it to improv in that you're giving these situations and you just go, the best thing to do is just jump in there and see what happens. With improv, you're usually working with people, so together you sort of come to
Mm.
some conclusion, but they're doing it by themselves. And I think once they're in there, they think, okay, there's no going back. I have to do this. And then they find ways of dealing with that, whether it's singing to themselves, skipping. And a lot of them, to be fair, get distracted by bugs on the sidewalk or whatever. But I mean, we all get distracted in different ways. They end up doing the task, which is the important thing.
Absolutely. Mostly. Some of them mostly. And it's funny. This is I think there's a conversation going on between two parents, and we talked before about the tension, and one of them was saying, would you do this otherwise? And they said, well, if it wasn't for the show, absolutely not. But at the end, there's a real satisfaction from them to
Yeah.
see
Because
what.
it's also a learning moment for them saying,
Yeah,
oh, maybe I don't have to protect them as much as possible. Of course, as a parent, that's your main objective and it's what you want to do. But sometimes they need that little independence. And it's interesting. Some of the parents come from different cultures. And in some of them, their cultures, that's what they stress, that the kids get independent immediately. Then there are other cultures where it's like sheltering the children. So it's watching that sort of dynamic sort of figure out how much can I I let them go and how much should I be keeping them in?
With that being said, I know you said with your daughter. My question is, which parent of that would you have been if you had been brought on the show?
Oh, I think we were both, um, it took us a while to have a child. So I think that also sort of brought something, not logically, but we were very protective. But she was more, my wife, Deb, was more, we've got to do this. And so on my daughter's first walk to school by herself, my wife was like 200 feet behind, like literally jumping behind lampposts and mailboxes not to be seen. And they would do things, she would do things when I wasn't around,
Hmm.
just because she felt I was going to ruin the entire experiment. And I can't say that she was wrong.
I can totally relate to that. I have a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old, and my 9-year-old, and maybe whether or not some people will disagree with the time too, but we're like, now he's at the age he's starting to walk home from school by himself. And I'm trying to do exactly the same thing. No lampposts,
Hard.
but
I mean,
trees, and
yeah. I mean, so the show in Japan, because of their culture, it's a totally different show in a way, just because of the way their neighborhoods are set up, and uh, there's a different reaction to children doing things by themselves. In North America, it's a little harder for us because there are dangers out there. We have to be careful. So there's no easy answer.
yeah. My theory is they're never old enough, and they always are at the same time.
True. Our daughter's 33. We still go, like, why hasn't she called? She went out like 3 hours ago. Where is she? It's like, come on. She was in New York. She went to New York when she was 17. We had no idea what she was doing. We were fine. She comes home for a visit and then she's, off. And it's like, where is she? Yeah, it's insane.
I literally had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who said, "Well, your father and I were talking, and he was asking about how you were doing," and I was like, "What?" He could have called me.
Yeah, exactly.
But
No
anyway,
cover.
no, honestly, it is the show is so charming, it's such a joy. Colin, what do you hope people take away from Old Enough?
I hope that parents can see um, sometimes you have to let go. I mean, this is sort of the first step for your child to have independence and, in a way, start to move away from you, which is horrible in a way. But they're never going to completely leave you. Trust me. They'll always move back. But they need to have that independence to go out in the world. And all the fear you have um, won't change that. Um, So accept it. To use an improv term, yes, and it. Support them and be there for them.
Well, I appreciate that, and like I said, I have a. You could do a whole sequel series about teenagers because mine keeps reminding me how long it is till driving starts. And
No, for
I'm
me, that
like,
would be the most anxiety ridden show. Teenagers gone wild.
it's a horror, is what it is. It's actually a horror series. Uh, Colin, thank you so much for your time. I genuinely appreciate it. It's a joy to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.